Hello, this is Doe Wilkerson back with another edition of Old School Boxing Talk. I'm coming to you May 3rd. Yeah. Tonight is Canelo Alvarez versus Danny Jacobs on the zone. I'm gonna cover the topic of the zone, but let's talk about this fight here. Jacobs and Jacobs and Canelo. Yes. Um we got Jacobs who won the IBF middleweight championship after Triple G refused to fight Devinchenko. Instead, he wanted to fight Vanis Martirosyan. The IBF stripped him because, Devinchenko was his mandatory. Jacob steps in, fights him, wins the IBF title. Canelo then turned around and lost the two belts, two of the belts he had left, the WBC and WBA middleweight championships, to lineal middleweight champion Canelo Alvarez. Um, so tonight, Canelo Alvarez says this year he wants all the belts. So we're going to see if he's really telling the truth or, what he does. Um, so this fight, I like Canelo in this fight. I'm a fan of Canelo Alvarez's, and I respect Daniel Jacobs, but I like Canelo to win this fight by decision. I would not be shocked if there's a knockdown in this fight if Canelo puts Daniels down. I could see Canelo either winning a decision or maybe a late round stoppage. That's my predictions for this fight tonight. Also tonight we have the IBF Light Heavyweight Championship. Better BF is defending his IBF Light Heavyweight Championship. I don't know why you put this fight the same night as Canelo Jacobs, but that fight will be on tonight on ESPN. I'll be recording that fight because I'm going to be on the zone watching Canelo. Now, one of the things that a lot of things in boxing irritate me, but one of the things that irritate me the most this week, well, not just this week, but for the longest time, this pound for pound list bull. Here's the rundown. The history of the pound for pound started in 1940, about 1940, 1942, 40, no. It started during the reign of Joe Louis. Joe Louis was a dominant heavyweight champion, and the boxing writers, who at the time were not bought and paid for like today's boxing writers, got together and said, hey, who would be the best fighter? Take the heavyweight champion out of the equation. Who is the next best fighter pound for pound in the world? And they would go up and down and looking at fighters and said, if all things were equal, how would this fighter do fighting in different weight classes? And the consensus was Sugar Ray Robinson was considered pound for pound the best fighter in the world for everyone not a heavyweight. Now, the pound for pound list is to go from light heavyweight to flyweight. Or I guess today with all the junior divisions, strawweight. But nowhere is the heavyweight or heavyweight to the heavyweight champion to be in the pound for pound list. That's just not how it's done. The pound for pound list is for fighters other than the heavyweights. Now, I can see why today with four guys with four titles and we got three guys laying claim to the heavyweight claims to the heavyweight championship. We have Tyson Fury, who was the lineal heavyweight champion. We have Anthony Joshua, who's a unified heavyweight champion. He holds the WBA, the WBA, the IBF, and WBO titles. And we have Deontay Wilder, who's had his title longer than all of them. He's WBC heavyweight champion. Now, let me explain to you how Wilder is the longest reigning champion, but not the lineal champion. Deontay Wilder beat Bermane Stiverne to win the WBC heavyweight championship. The WBC heavyweight championship was the one championship that Vitaly Klitschko never held because his brother Vladimir Klitschko held that belt. And then when his brother retired, Bermane Stiverne wound up fighting Oh, damn it, I forgot his name now. Damn, it'll come to me and I'll come back to it. But Bermane Stiverne wound up fighting and winning the WBC heavyweight title. Stiverne then had to defend it against the guy who was his manager at the time, Deontay Wilder. Wilder outboxed Stiverne to win the WBC heavyweight championship. Um, the lineal champion was Vitaly Klitschko, who held the WBA, the IBF, the WBO championships, and he was a lineal champion. He lost his lineal championship to Tyson Fury. Of course, Tyson Fury had drug and mental issues and was stripped. See, this is the difference. Let me explain something about the lineal title. You cannot be stripped of the lineal championship. The lineal championship must be won and lost in the ring. If you retire, then yes, the lineal championship can pass on. Then it's a battle to see who's the next top guy. But Tyson Fury didn't technically retire. He just took some time off to get himself together. Thus, he's still the lineal heavyweight champion. The lineal heavyweight champion is the man that beat the man that beat the man that beat the man from the beginning, from the very first guy to hold that title to the last major guy. So we're saying the lineal championship traces back to John L. Sullivan, who's the very first heavyweight champion, all the way from John L. Sullivan, Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes, Lennox Lewis, all the way down. Klitschko got it after Lennox Lewis retired. Klitschko was the next top guy, and he was given the lineal championship after Lennox Lewis retired. Klitschko then lost the lineal championship to Tyson Fury, who was the current lineal heavyweight champion. Okay, so that takes care of the lineal. But let's get back to pound for pound. The pound for pound list was a list, like I said, put together by boxing writers. And this is when boxing writers were not bought and paid for like they are today, which is why we have so many people like myself and other members of the LDBC and new media who go in and get in our boxing and try to give you other fans the truth, because you have right now with the boxing media, you have the people on ESPN. Says ESPN has an exclusive deal with Top Rank. That means all those guys that work for ESPN are going to jade everything. They're going to be negative toward everybody else but ESPN fighters, but Top Rank fighters. You have Ring Magazine, the Bible of boxing, well, used to be, which is now bought, paid for, and owned by Golden Boy Promotions. So Ring Magazine, all their writers skew and are biased toward Golden Boy. They're going to skew everything toward Golden Boy. Now the two slapping boy. Then you got Eddie Hearns, who has Boxing Monthly over in the UK. That's his magazine. Okay, they skew everything and positive toward Eddie Hearns, AJ, and all that. That's their magazine. That's their paid and bought and paid for media. The only people that don't seem to have bought and paid for media, major bought and paid for media, is the PBC. They don't, like I said, they don't seem to. I don't know for a fact that they don't, but I know that Golden Boy there is owned by Ring Magazine is owned by Golden Boy, so everything there. ESPN, Dan Raphael, and all those chumps over at ESPN, everything is slanted toward to be pro Top Rank. You know, Boxing Monthly at the UK magazine, that's Matchroom. That's Eddie Hearns and Matchroom. That's their boys over there. Like I said, I'm sure the PBC has some, but I don't know if they're as powerful as the ones that they're going up against. But that's politics. I won't leave politics alone. Let's get back to my disturbance about the pound for pound list. The pound for pound list was an honorary list. Now it seems like it's become a marketing tool for everybody for everybody's fighters that they're I'm pound for pound this, I'm pound for pound. That these guys. It's not about legacies. The pound for pound guys before it became what it is, were guys that were the best. Roy Jones Jr. from Roy pound for pound went from Roy Jones to Floyd Mayweather. Um, I think Shane Mosley even was. I think Shane Mosley was probably number two pound for pound because he was during Shane Mosley's high point was during the high rise of Roy Jones, and when Roy was at his best, there was nobody better than Roy Jones. So Roy Jones was pound for pound up until he lost to Tarver. Um, well, I think up until he lost to Tarver, and then after he lost to Glenn Johnson, it just everything is woo. But Floyd Mayweather took up the pound, became the pound for pound king. Um, and Floyd held that damn distinction until he just retired. Till after he retired after the Andre Berto fight, Floyd was like, okay, that's it, I'm done. And he was a pound for pound king. And then they had to crown a new pound for pound king. They got this kid Chocolatito, and they crowned this kid Placatito, and then he wound up getting busted. Now now they're hunting around. A lot of the top three guys pound for pound right now are Terrence Crawford, Vasily Lomachenko, and Canelo Alvarez. I was listening to, I like to listen to arguments, pros and cons, and I like to listen to pros and cons. And I was looking at 7-4, and he had an issue. He was talking about the same subject about the pound for pound. And he said it. He, like me, doesn't do pound for pounds. But he made an interesting point. If he did do a pound for pound, what the pound for pound is all about is your resume. What have you done in your career? Um, have you won multiple championships? Have you beaten up, cleaned out divisions? You know, um, there's things on there that, in my opinion, and I agree with him, the best resume in boxing today, right now, in boxing today, belongs to Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez has beaten more Hall of Famers than anybody else in boxing. He's fought better opposition. He's been unified champion. Canelo Alvarez has held three of the four major belts at 154. He was unified champion. He lost the unified junior middleweight championship to Mayweather, but Canelo Alvarez was unified. He was a WBA WBC champion when he fought Floyd, because when he fought Floyd, he was unified junior middleweight champion. He then, after he lost to Floyd, the belts, when Floyd retired, and the belts guy, he came back to 154 and won the WBO version of that title. He won the WBO version of the junior middleweight title. He then moved up. He fought, but in the mix of this, he fought He fought and defeated the lineal middleweight champion at the time was Miguel Cotto, who beat Sergio Martinez for the lineal middleweight championship. So he became lineal middleweight championship, went back to 154, won a belt, won his third championship at 154, and back to now he's back up there. Then he fought, then he fought Golovkin. For Golovkin had three belts. He had the WBA, the WBC, and the IBF belt. When Golovkin and Canelo fought the first time, the fight was ruled a draw. And then there was some issues with Canelo with the contaminated beef. There was a little suspension there, for whatever, and they turned around and fought again. In the process of them fighting again, Canelo, the process of them getting together again, Golovkin decided to fight Vanes Martirosyan, who was a junior middleweight who had been out of the ring for 2 years. Pull him up to middleweight to beat him in 2 rounds, but the IBF was like, no, you have Sergey Devinchenko as your mandatory. You have a mandatory with Devinchenko. You have a mandatory with Jamel Charlo. You have mandatories that you need to face. Now the IBF said, look, if you face Charlo, we'll let that one go because you're facing a mandatory. Or you're going to face Devinchenko, who's your IBF mandatory. Well, Golovkin thought they were BSing, and he decided to fight, Vanes Martirosyan. And they stripped him. The IBF stripped him of their title. And that's how Danny Jacobs wanted. Danny Jacobs wanted fighting Devinchenko. Danny Jacobs won a decision over Devinchenko. Now Danny Jacobs has that belt. So now tonight, Canelo and Danny Jacobs will fight for the lineal and to unified middleweight championships. But I keep getting off topic because look, the talk of pound for pound is overrated. It's overdone. In this era of boxing, um, it's it's too easy to win championships. When the pound for pound lists and all these lists were made, this is when you had 8 divisions and one champion per division. Just think about this: when Joe Louis was heavyweight champion of the world, there were 8 divisions. There was flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, heavyweight. Those 8. Joe Louis was the heavyweight champion of the world. Sugar Ray Robinson was the middleweight champion of the world. Henry Armstrong was the featherweight, lightweight, and welterweight champion of the world when this pound for pound was started. Henry Armstrong was holding 3 of the 3 championships in 8 weight classes. Henry Armstrong was holding 3 of those belts: featherweight, lightweight, welterweight. And there was one champion per division. So, not like today. Today you have a WBC, a WBA, IBF, WBO. Too many titles and more coming. And it's why boxing being a fringe sport, because there's no clear champion right now. Who is the welterweight champion of the world? Well, you got Terrence Crawford holds a claim to it. You got Earl Spence who holds a claim to it. Keith Thurman holds a claim to it. And Sean Porter holds a claim to it. 4 men, 1 world, 4 men claim to be his champion at welterweight. Heavyweight, 3 men, 1 world, 3 men claim to be his champion. The problem with boxing is this. It's like if you look at every other sport. Basketball, when you say who's the NBA champion, it's a Golden State Warriors. Who's the NFL football? Who's the football champion? It's the New England Patriot. In every sport, you know who the champion is. There's not 3 or 4 other guys saying they're the champion. There's one champion. The problem with boxing is you got 4 people in one division claiming to be champion. And with the WBA, which is even more disgusting, they seem to have, it's even more because WBA has its regular champion, its interim champion, its super champion. So the WBA itself has 3 champions in one division, which is ridiculous, which is why boxing is such a niche sport, because how can I take you serious when you can't even tell me who your champion, when I don't even know who your champion is? Because the people in boxing hurt boxing. The people in it, the problem with boxing is just this gold mine, where there's money to be made in there. And, everybody keeps saying boxing's dead. Boxing ain't dead. You get top stars in boxing, them boys make more money than most of these players, in other sports. The problem with boxing is unregulated, and there's no commissioner in boxing, and it's the Wild West. It's still the Wild West, and there's no one saying you cannot do this. No one. And the fact that then there's certain promoters that own certain of these governing bodies. The WBO, the World Boxing Organization, is pretty much Bob Arum's his governing body. And if you look over Bob Arum got busted for buying rankings from the IBF. So Bob Arum got busted. He's the only one of these guys that has a federal charge on him. As a felon. This is how the boxing organizations are. You have the WBO, which is Bob's bitch. You have the IBF, which is the IBF, which is the reform call girl. They're trying to do everything right because they have a probation officer now. You have the WBA, which is the street, which is just a corner hoe. She just out there spreading her love around. And then you have the WBC, which is more the call girl, the high end, because only WBC goes to the highest bidder. You know, you got to have money WBC. You got to be putting out money. WBC is a high end call girl. Um, and it's a shame there's no that all that these governing bodies are as corrupt as some of these promoters and other people in boxing. But that's what hurts boxing. The stuff outside the ring is what hurts the sport. Inside the ring, there's a beauty of mono, two guys. Tonight, if you have the zone, which I recommend, look, the zone started out was $10. They're moving their price up to $20, but if you're a boxing head like I am, it's well worth it. Since I've had the zone, I have no complaints. I get fights, I get matchroom fights, I get Golden Boy fights, I get World Boxing Super Series fights. I get there's all kind of boxing on there. So to me, a boxing head, it's like for $20 and I can turn on the TV, turn on my hook on my DAZN app at any time and find a fight. And if I missed a fight, guess what? I can turn on the app and catch it the next day. So for me, it's worth it. If you're a boxing head like I am, DAZN is worth the $20 a month. Um, I see boxing right now. It's kind of funny. It looks like we're going through a renaissance because there is more boxing on TV. I mean, there was a time when I was growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, where there was boxing on every Saturday. I mean, every Saturday afternoon, NBC had boxing on, CBS had boxing on, ABC had boxing on. There was boxing on every weekend, and then it kind of went away. And now it seems like I can turn on TV and I can I just found a new ringside boxing series on NBC on NBC on one of NBC's little channels. Um then there's boxing shows. Fox has, next Sunday, Mother's Day, there is a fight on Mother's Day. Jared Hurd defending his title next Sunday on Mother's Day. I mean next Saturday night on Mother's Day Mother's Day weekend on Fox. And there's going to be the undercards will be shown on FS1 or FS2. Um, it's there was time people were saying boxing's dying and MMA's taking over and this and that and that. Let me tell you something about boxing. Excuse me. Boxing is primal. Like anywhere you go, no matter what you're doing, if two people engage in a fight, everyone will stop and watch. Boxing will never go away because it is just hardwired into us. When two people are in a fight, we must watch. The problem is we all say, well, we all like to say we don't watch, but we watch. We watch. And once the great while we find those special talents like a Muhammad Ali or a Ray Leonard, or Marvin Hagler, or maybe today is Earl Spence or Terrence Crawford, the latest version of Roy Jones. We find that special talent that we just say, wow, we got to watch him fight. We want to see somebody test him. I remember when Roy Jones fought James Toney. James Toney was another brilliant fighter. An underrated guy, but James Lights Out Toney is one of the best ever. I remember when Roy Jones fought James Toney at 168. Roy had, beat Hopkins for the IBF middleweight title. There really wasn't much there. Nobody was going to fight him. And he moved up to 168. And at 168, the IBF title was held by James Toney. James Toney was the man because the other champions, the WBC champion, the WBA champion, the IBF, the WBC and WBA champion, this is before the WBO, which was the real was regarded then, those guys were fighting, all those belts were held by guys in the UK. And none of them guys was going to go fight James Toney. There ain't nobody want no smoke with James Toney. Chris Eubank Sr. Was the WBO super middleweight champion. There were guys, title holders. That in London, that those British kids, ain't none of them wanted no smoke. with James Toney. James Toney would have liked to unify. Nobody want no smoke. They're like, no, we don't no smoke. No, want no problems here. When and Roy Jones moved up because he wanted to unify at 160. And Don King held the other belts, and Don King was like, well, I need you to sign X amount, X amount, X. And Roy's like, no, I'm not signing my future away with you, Don. So Don's like, well, we ain't fighting you. And that's what Bob Arum does today. Bob Arum sits there and he tells you, I want you to fight Terrence Crawford. You're like, all right, I'll fight Terrence Crawford. What's the money? Well, first he wants to lowball you on the money. Then he says, well, I'll give you the Crawford fight, but I need you to fight fighters A and B. Yeah, Crawford will be C, right? And I need some, you fight these two fights, then you fight Crawford, and if you win against Crawford, I need the next 4 or 5 fights all here, and on my network. Nah, this is supposed to be a one-off, man. I'm coming to fight your boy. There's a rematch, rematch clause, of course, but no, I'm not trying to, do that. That's why the Wilder Fury fight, they went near they gave Tyson Fury all this money, and they screwed both of them out of the rematch because now they try to get Deontay Wilder to come over there, and he said, yeah, I need you to fight this guy, this guy, this guy. Then we'll make the Fury because we need Bob Arum's old talk about we need to marinate. Nah, man, ain't nobody trying to hear that. Now the recent rumor is now Terrence Crawford has nobody to fight except unless he's going to fight what's can't remember his name. But he's supposed to fight somebody. Wow, what's that boy's name? Oh damn. Oh damn. Anyways, Kell Brooks. I'm sorry, there it was Kell Brooks. He's supposed to fight Kell Brook. Look, Bob Arum has nobody at 147 for Terrence Crawford to fight. Nobody. And now he just fought Amir Khan, beat Amir Khan. Yay. And now, they're desperate for an Earl Spence fight. Well, Earl Spencer said, look, I'm going this unification with Sean Porter. Earl Spencer said, look, this strap season, I'm going to collect straps. So Earl Spencer's going to fight Sean Porter to unify the IBF and WBC title. Luckiest guy in the world is Keith Thurman, because Keith Thurman sat his ass for 2 years, comes back, looks shitty against Josecito Lopez, and gets a fight with Manny Pacquiao. Wow. So you got these top guys out now. They're saying, well, Bob Arum, everybody say, Bob, why don't you do Danny Garcia and Terrence Crawford? Well, see, if it doesn't happen, I'm gonna tell you why it doesn't happen. Because Bob Arum, instead of saying, you says I want to fight, yeah. Well, I need you to fight this fight. Well, we'll make that fight, but I need a couple other fights on the back end. And Danny Garcia and his dad come, nah, man. They're gonna say, first of all, this is how much money we want. Because we're making X amount of money over here, not fighting for the title. You're not going to offer us less than what we're making. Secondly, we'll give you a rematch clause, but we'll give you a rematch clause, but the rematch clause is going to be on our side. We're going to come to ESPN for this first fight, but we win, you bring your ass on over to Showtime or Fox, and this is where we getting it on. And Uncle Bob ain't gonna like that, because Uncle Bob gonna try to keep Danny Garcia and Angel Garcia over there because he needs welterweights. He ain't got nobody. He has nothing. And if that fight doesn't happen, that's why. Because that's why Uncle Bob trying to keep him, trick him up into something. And Danny Garcia and his dad, Angel Garcia and Danny, they like being free agents. They like being able to do what they got to. They handle their business. They don't have a promoter because you don't need a promoter. At the level they're at, you don't need a promoter. You got a bunch of different promoters. The PBC is not one promoter. It's a bunch of different promoters. You got Shelly Finkel over there. You got Richard Schaefer over there. You got a bunch of different promoters over there. And they each, come, assigned to a fight. They say, yo, put this card together. You want to work? Yeah, go ahead. That's how they get down. But that aside, last week was a great week of boxing. Regis Prograve showed out at the World Series of Boxing. Nonito Donaire had possibly maybe knockout of the year. That left hook, if you can find him and find it on YouTube, that left hook he hit Taylor Wood, brilliant. He, oh my god, that left hook was just damn. Um, Boxing is doing well. We had great fights. We're gonna have a great fight tonight. I'm looking forward to Canelo and Jacobs. I'm looking forward. I'm hoping they put on to see what the undercard is going to be like. And that's going to be it for me, boys. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Um, we playing with some new things, trying to put my old school boxes, my entrance back together. We're gonna play with some things, get things back till I get my original laptop back with all my programs on it. But from now to then, this is Doe Wilson signing off. If you have any questions, comments, you can reach me at, you can email me at oldschoolboxingtalk@gmail.com. I would appreciate feedback. Any topics you want me to cover, I'm willing to cover. Um, just hit me up, man. Let's talk. Let's, if you want to chop it up, we can chop it up. I'd like to make this do more interactive. You send me an email, I'll read that thing on my next video. Let's chop it up. I'm always want to chop it up with legitimate, true boxing fans. None of that race baiting bullshit. Real boxing fans that want to talk about boxing, not about this versus that or this guy. Now, none of that race shit. If you're a boxing fan and want to talk about boxing, we can chop it up. If you want to do all other bullshit about race and all that crap, this ain't the place for you. This is the place for real boxing fans. Till next time, this is Doe Wilson signing out.